Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Okay, so this happened about 3 years ago. I was working for a cleaning company in governmental buildings, and FYI, this is a manager that I plenty of other people had issues with. One day, I went into work like normal, everything was fine, my manager needed me to do some extra floors to vacuum. Sure, no problem, I told her that I didn't have that many floors to do and could do them after just needing a list of the floors to vacuum. No argument from her, just a, I'll have it for you after. And off to work I went. About 2 hours go by and I'm done with my floors. I go to the office to get a list of the floors she needed me to do, and turns out she needed me to do them early in the morning. That's news to me. I ended up sending someone else, and I should have waited. Told her she never said it was time sensitive, otherwise I would have waited. She rolls her eyes and just repeats the same thing, and that I still should have waited, but whatever, what's done is done. And when I ask her if there was anything else that needed to be done, she tells me to grab a bucket, some gloves, and some magic erasers and scrub the walls of the parking garage. There's 5 levels and I knew that it wasn't part of the contract to clean it, plus this was a method she used as a form of punishment for the insubordination. She expected me to have it all done by the end of my shift. I grabbed my stuff and did as told, but was only able to clean 1 level. By the end of my shift, I told her along with my supervisor that I was only able to do 1 level of the parking garage, that I would try and get more done tomorrow. Now, my supervisor had no idea that's where I was, since she didn't tell him I was needed elsewhere for something more important that ended up not being done at all, so no one could find me. Couldn't get a radio and signal sucks there, so no texts or calls. He was livid. He asked everyone to leave, and then the very loud argument started. Why would you send her there? It's not even part of our contract. You were warned about pulling this crap on employees. Well, she wasn't fired under the 3 strikes and you're out policy. However, with the presence of the 2 senior officials, the regional manager and supervisor, she was compelled to offer me a face-to-face apology the following day for her actions and the inconvenience caused. My response was courteous yet firm. Thank you for your apology, but it wasn't my time and money that was wasted. It was the company's. Now, if there is nothing further, I need to attend to my floor as I have a busy day of vacuuming ahead. With that, I left. Since then, she has not caused any further issues. I've been in the motorcycle industry for 20 plus years. This story is around 13 years old, so not super precise on the language used in the conversations, but I will be as accurate as I can remember. I once worked in a shop in a large city. There were about 8 technicians, split into 2 shifts. We had 4 days on, 2 off, then 6 on and 2 off. The other shift had the reverse days. The shop was run by a service department manager and the shop owner was often not in the building. One day I came in after my 2 days off. On my left bench is a brand new Harley-Davidson Dyna model, an OP's Robert, and at the end of the bench is a brand new Jim's Performance engine on the floor still in the box. It was apparent that one or the other techs had loaded this bike on my bench and then began the process of disassembling the bike to swap the engines. Dynas at that time came in different models, but also 2 different powertrain finishes, silver/chrome and black/chrome. We sometimes call the silver ones blonde and the black-engined ones brunette. Don't ask me, I didn't start the trend of using this slang. Engine, transmissions, and primary covers are all the same color. We were in a bit slower season. The industry is somewhat seasonal because of winter in some northern climes. So this project belongs to the shop owner and is a good job to get done while there are fewer customer units present to be worked on. One quick look at the motorcycle and the engine reveals that the motorcycle is blonde and the engine is brunette. Before my shift starts, I talk to the service manager. He confirms that my job for the day is to complete the engine swap that is already underway in my workspace. I try to ask a few questions. Are you sure? Because the service manager quickly interrupts me with, "Quit asking questions and do what I tell you." At this point, I know I won't get fired, and I don't care to indulge the service manager's crabby behavior. I start working on the engine swap on my bench, thinking I'll probably get stopped before the point of no return when someone realizes what is actually going on. I should probably point out that swapping an engine out of a 96-inch Dyna is not a quick job, and I'm dragging my feet a bit to give anyone else in the shop a chance to clue in a service manager. Stock engine comes out, the service manager is not present for me to check if he has anything to say about the job, so I carry on. It's getting to the end of the day and I'm mostly done putting the black engine into the bike. The bike was a silver transmission case and silver primary right beside it. This brand new 20+K bike with a 5+K engine looks really junky. This time, the shop owner W pays a visit to the service department. W sees me working on his new bike and comes over to see it. I watch the smile melt off his face as he gets about 8 feet away. I should probably mention that I have the male version of resting witch face. I have a bit of a scowl whenever I'm in my own head. I guess it makes for a good poker face sometimes in social situations. My face remains dark as the shop owner comes over to me and stays that way through this interaction. Internally though, I'm smirking. Hey, what are you doing? I tell him, I'm putting the gym's engine into this bike. Why? He's getting pissed off now. Couldn't see that this engine is black and the rest of the bike is silver? Yes I can. Then why would you do this? Well, when I tried to mention it to the service manager, he told me, stop asking questions and go do as you're told. W pursed his face and walked away from me. I carried on with the job, now approximately 80% complete. The service manager appeared about 10 minutes later. He lacked his previous bluster when he told me, so go ahead and take that engine back out of that bike and put it back in the box. Since it was near the end of the day, taking the engine back out took me most of the next day. The epilogue. The bike that belonged to the shop owner, and he had a different engine coming for this bike. The black engine was meant for a different project. I wasted 2 days for zero progress in the shop. The shop lost money because they had to pay my wages and had nothing to bill out for my time. I can't really say if the service manager learned the lesson or not. Not long after this, the economic housing bubble collapse of the US hit my country, and the morale of the shop tanked overnight. Nothing really changed. But when people heard that there wouldn't be any raises or bonuses for a year, they fled like rats from a sinking ship. At the peak, we lost 7 staff in one day. Some ended up changing industries and making less money. Some pursued passion projects. Some went on to better things with more money and better benefits. I fell into the latter. The shop was sold and I don't think I know anyone working there anymore. I, 30, met my husband Stefan, 32, at a friend's cousin's party. We instantly connected and started dating not long after. We have been happily married for 5 years now and have a 4-month-old son. I met my mother-in-law at his uncle's funeral. He asked me to attend in support of him. Before we left, his cousin warned me about mother-in-law. He said she wasn't the nicest person, and she had impossibly high standards to meet and can be judgmental. So don't take it personally, as she is like that with everyone. I did ask my husband and he agreed that mother-in-law can be quite judgmental, and not to worry, that he will be there for me. I felt like they gave me the sugar-coated version of her because she was just terrible. She made a scene about bringing a stranger to a family funeral, but my husband cut her off and said his aunt, who was his uncle's widow, said he could. She spent the rest of the funeral giving me nasty looks and making passive-aggressive comments. She made a scene at our wedding, but that's a different story on its own. But after minimal contact with mother-in-law, my husband eventually got around to telling her that I was pregnant. I expected her to be angry and have a go at him, but she surprised us both and was the complete opposite. She was excited about being a grandmother. She was congratulating me. Her attitude did a complete turn and I grudgingly allowed her to visit. When it was time to give birth to my son, she wanted to see my son being born, but I refused. And that's when her ugly side reared its head again and she caused a scene and was thrown out. I refused to let her visit us at home and my husband agreed. But she rang crying and apologizing. She said she was just overwhelmed about being a grandmother and her emotions got the better of her. Against my better judgment, I relented and said okay. When she first held him, she looked at me and said, "He was beautiful." I went to the kitchen to get us a drink and then I could hear my husband telling her to get out. I went back in and she started yelling he needed to get the baby tested because it doesn't look like anyone in their family. He kicked her out. She took to social media and told everyone that I cheated on my husband and that my husband needs to get a DNA test to prove he was a dad. She got a lot of attention for that. So I made my own post and said I'll get a test when she gets a test for her son. That just made everything worse. She rang my husband up telling him to take it down, and he just hung up on her. Everyone was divided and questioned my husband's paternity since she had such a strong reaction to it. Now even my husband is starting to wonder and making me feel I went too far. And I'm thinking, am I the jerk for saying that? And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, "You're not the jerk. She doesn't sound stable at all, and I would be worried about what she would do around the child. Even if she was just another weirdly incestuous boy mom, that mood swing going from one extreme to another in a blink of an eye goes beyond jerk into dangerous territory." Also, her demanding to see the birth and immediately taken to social media also indicates that she has no concept of boundaries. To have someone like that around your child, even if she doesn't do anything drastic, could be very damaging. Also, if she wants to make her delusions public, she can handle your public response. If you don't want a witch hunt, don't make a pyre. Another commenter adds, "Not the jerk. Maybe not the nicest way to handle, but when you deal with crap, your hands are bound to get dirty. Keep holding your ground and just tell her to stop spouting lies about you on social media, or you will continue to embarrass her on your own account, and she can face the consequences of her own actions." A third commenter goes with, "Not the jerk. She's deranged. No contact with her ever again. And move on with your drama-free lives, enjoying your beautiful new baby. Tell your husband if he really wants a paternity test, you'll be happy to provide one. And at that point, he will also be paying child support forever while you marry someone else who will actually trust you and not throw away his marriage because of an unstable and manipulative relative. He should be protecting you and your child together from all of this nonsense and cutting off anyone who participates in it. He should make a simple, very clear post stating that anyone who questions his paternity will not be welcomed in his home ever again. Full stop. His mother's irrational allegations are disgraceful. You owe none of these people any explanations, arguments, or time." I was at my favorite coffee shop sipping on my regular latte. You know, the one with the extra shot of espresso and just a hint of vanilla? Yeah, that's when I first saw her, Karen. I mean, I didn't know her name was Karen at the time, but you could just tell. I paid her little mind until I walked out to the parking lot. And that's where things got weird. I was heading towards my car, a decent nothing fancy sedan, when Karen suddenly appeared beside me. "Nice car," she said, eyeing it like it was a piece of cake and she hadn't eaten in days. I chuckled, thinking she was just making small talk. Thanks, I like it. Gets me from point A to point B. Then out of nowhere she demanded, "Give me your keys." I laughed thinking it was a joke, but the look in her eyes, it was serious. "Excuse me? Your keys," she repeated, more forcefully this time. "I need your car. Mine's in the shop and I have very important errands." I was stunned. Was this really happening? "I'm sorry, but no, I need my car." And that's when she went full Karen. "I'll have you know, I'm a very important person in this town. I know the mayor, and I'll have your job for this." I tried to keep my cool. "I don't work for you or the mayor, and I'm not giving you my car." She huffed, puffing up like a peacock. "We'll see about that." She whipped out her phone and started dialing. I didn't stick around to see who she was calling. I just wanted to get away from the madness. But as I put my key in the door, she lunged at me, trying to snatch the keys right out of my hand. "Hey!" I yelled, pulling back. "What are you doing?" "You're going to regret this," she screeched, still clawing at my hand. In a scuffle, her phone dropped and shattered on the pavement. And that's when she really lost it. "Look what you did." "That's it. I am calling the police." I was dumbfounded. "For what?" "You're trying to steal my car." Well, she was already screaming into someone else's phone. Must have borrowed it from a bystander. "Yes, police? I've been assaulted and this man is trying to steal my car." I couldn't believe my ears. Was this really happening? I waited, unsure of what to do, as she spun a wild tale to the cops. It didn't take long for the police to arrive. 2 police officers approached, and Karen immediately started playing the victim. "Officers, thank God. This man attacked me and is trying to steal my car." One of the officers, a woman, turned to me. "Sir, is this true?" "Absolutely not." I said, trying to stay calm. This is my car. She's the one who tried to take my keys and then claimed I was stealing it. The other officer, a younger guy who looked like he was trying hard not to roll his eyes, checked my ID and the car's registration. Everything seems to be in order here, he said that. But he smashed my phone, Karen interjected, holding up the broken pieces. The female officer looked at the phone, then at me. Did you do this, sir? No, I said that. It dropped when she tried to grab my keys. The bystander who lent Karen their phone stepped forward. I saw the whole thing. He is telling the truth. She attacked him, and then her phone fell. The officers exchanged looks. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to calm down. The female officer said to Karen. This appears to be a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Karen was livid. I'll have your badges for this. And that's when a younger officer's radio crackled. We just got a call from the coffee shop. Apparently this woman has been causing problems all morning, demanding freebies and threatening staff. Karen's face went white as a ghost. Ma'am, I think you need to come with us, the female officer said, taking out handcuffs. You can't do this to me, Karen shrieked. But it was no use. They cuffed her and led her to the police car. I just stood there for a while, my heart pounding. I couldn't believe what had just happened. All I wanted was a quiet morning and my latte. And instead, I got this. This comes from back when I was working security in a local hospital. The hospital itself was made up of main building AE/minors and wards, a state office, old ambulance station, the maternity ward, and a management house which would house all of the upper management while they worked. Around the building were car parks. We had 9 in total, ranging from large to only a couple spaces, but still a wide area. It would take around 30 to 40 minutes to check all the car parks and take 10 to 15 minutes to get to one side of the site edge to the other. Our security office was located just outside of accidents and emergencies, as believe it or not, but that was where most of the trouble was, which called for security to be there. As a fairly small hospital, there was only maximum of 3 security on each 8-hour shift. Security management could help, but often didn't want to get involved. We were doing our normal patrols of once every 30 minutes to go around each of the wards, which kept us quite busy if nothing was happening that day on shift. One day a nurse complained to the security manager that we need to be more visible around the car parks to stop break-ins. We don't often patrol the car parks, as it's park at your own risk, as the site was lacking funds for extra security. Our manager understood this, which is why it just stayed as it was due to the security team needing to stay in the wards and accidents and emergencies to protect staff and patients. 6 months go by and our manager leaves. He's replaced with a new manager which hears the same complaint as the first one and orders us to start patrolling each and every car park and ward on our rounds. Needless to say, we just agreed and said okay. Please note, I know this would not end well, but I complied with my new orders and every day without fail walked around all the car parks, even if it was half or nearly empty. Fast forward another week or two, and the AE radioed us to attend as a patient with threatening staff. However, security officers were in the back car park roughly 5 to 10 minutes away, even when running. Please note that was another rule we had to stay in twos, as we were only MAPA trained and it need to minimum. By the time we got there, this patient had already hit out at staff causing injury, but also decided to run around the A/E department and other joining areas, breaking glass windows and scaring others. We controlled the situation after getting there, but it was already too late. Thousands of pounds worth of damage caused, and the couple with small injuries. Later on, our new manager asked why our response time was so slow. We just replied by saying that we were taking care of the car parks in order to buy you. Compliant to orders by you. The day after, more signs went up saying park at your own risk, and we were never ordered to patrol half-empty car parks again. A new manager only lasted about 4 to 5 months after this incident.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.